Hey, sports porchers, it's your hockey Jesus. And I'm back with analysis of the Pittsburgh Penguins at the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, tonight the Pittsburgh Penguins finished their 5-game road trip, one of the worst ones as far as competition goes for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And boy, Sidney Crosby was back. It's right. He made it back, and he made this game very exciting. But unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Penguins get the loser point, but can't get that overtime winner. At least we didn't have to go to a shootout. And the Canes win 6-5 on a one-time slapper from Walker from the left hash to win the game. Boy, this game had a little bit of everything in it. It had back and forth, great saves on both sides. It just had everything in it. So Sid returns, which means Mantha had to go to the third line. No big deal. That's exactly what we want to do. Figured Koivunen would be the odd man out here. And boy, Carolina has gotten physical over the years. Their physicality was definitely on stage tonight. They were pushing Penguins off the puck. I think it was causing a lot of those turnovers in the first period. Surprisingly enough, the stats for giveaways in the first period was 6 for Pittsburgh and 7 for Carolina. I don't know if the statisticians got that right, because it sure seemed like the Pittsburgh Penguins had like 12 or 15 in that first period. But it was definitely a high energy period. Surprisingly enough, only a 1-0 game at the end of the first, because the Pittsburgh Penguins power play just couldn't get going tonight. They did manage to get one power play goal, but 1 out of 4 isn't very good for the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially when you got Sid and Gino back. I think this is what happens with the Pittsburgh Penguins when they get their big guys out there. Sometimes everybody's afraid to shoot it, and they just get too passy with it, and they try and get too fancy with it, coming in and out of their zone. And I think that's the problem that the Pittsburgh Penguins have on their first penalty. On their first power play, and Martinook took advantage of that. I think it was Slavin maybe, or maybe it was Hall, who bounced it off the boards and sent it right to Martinook, and he didn't make any mistake and buried the shorty. So that was probably one of the worst periods I saw the Pittsburgh Penguins play, but only down 1-0. You got to take solace in when you play poorly like that and you're only down by a goal, that usually some good things can happen. Skinner kept them in at 100%. And then Sidney Crosby, on his first game back, gets a goal, makes it 1-0. Jarvis just looked like he was gliding into the zone, didn't realize that was Sidney Crosby behind him, and Sid made a beeline to the goal and got the rebound. Maybe it was a pass. It was one of the two, but right in front of the net, backhanded it right in. Actually, I think it was a pass by Raquel. A nice one, actually, because he made a good job getting behind the net and getting to that puck. And then, boom, it was power play number 2. And with Keandre Miller, with a dumb penalty, and the first power play almost gives up another shorthanded goal. Skinner had to save him a couple times in that instance. And so nothing really happened from that, 0 for 2 on the power play. And Jackson Blake just get one back. He made Solioff look like a fool, look like a giraffe on skates, as they like to say. But so he makes it 2-1. That made it 30 shots on goal for Carolina. And there was, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes left, or I'm sorry, about maybe 4 minutes left in the second period. That's a lot of shots for Skinner to see, and he made some great saves tonight. He was not the reason the Pittsburgh Penguins lost tonight. You would think in a 6-5 games he was the reason, but I think he faced, I'll pull up the stats here, but I think it was close to 45 shots on goal tonight for him. So yeah, it was, he definitely 44 shots on goal for Carolina tonight. So he definitely earned his pay tonight. Towards the end of the period, though, Svechnikov got called for a holding penalty. Didn't like it. I think he actually got a misconduct penalty too. Sid got a slashing. There was also some slashing that was going on. It was Sidney Crosby and Svechnikov not really liking each other. That's fine. I love it. I love the bad blood. So you go into the third period with the power play, the carrying over. Gino comes into the zone, gets tripped up by Jordan Stahl. Definitely a penalty, made a 5-on-3. And And you know what? Carlson just blasted it. I mean, Gino made a bumble on the blue line there, and I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to ruin this 5-on-3 power play. And then no way, they get back into the zone, and Carlson just slaps it right into the back of the net. Looked like it was going to go through the net. So yeah, that was awesome. That basically makes it 2-on-2. And then right after that, they're still on the second power play. Rust tips it a Sid shot, and it goes right off the post. And then what happens? Of course, Taylor Hall comes down the side. I don't know what Letang was doing. Maybe you didn't see Taylor Hall. Maybe he was out of position, but Hall didn't make any mistake. He buried it. So now we're 3-2. This is all in the third period. And a few minutes later, Rusty just comes down past Slavin on a breakaway, and he also buries it. Makes that 3-3, and then what I thought could have been the turning point of the game. They call Sidney Crosby for a tripping penalty. I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, did he run into him? Sure. But did he trip him? I don't know. It looked like a jump to me, like he was trying to jump around him, and he fell down. But they called it, and of course, Stan Coven makes a really nice goal to make it 4-3 on the power play. Carolina 1 for 2 on the power play tonight. The penalty kill tonight was not great for the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially on that. They were too tentative. It looks to me like with Lizzo being out, that's a problem for the penalty kill. They're going to have to find somebody to chase down the pucks. They don't really have a guy that can chase it down like Lizzo can. So and he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. So they're going to have to find somebody to do that, because if they can't rely on their penalty kill, that could be a problem for the Pittsburgh Penguins moving forward. Nonetheless, so they score, but it doesn't matter because we still have Erik Karlsson. This guy is probably the MVP for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. I get it. Sidney Crosby's playing great hockey. He always does. But this year, even with Sidney out, Karlsson has been a difference maker. The move he made on that blue line, that is vintage Erik Karlsson. And then the shot he buried, just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. This is what we would been hoping from him for the last 2 years, and he showed it there. So Karlsson makes it 4-4, and you're like, okay, we're probably going to go to overtime now. But nope, Mantha gets the puck in the zone, and he finds breaking Ben Kindle coming right down the middle. And Ben Kindle, Big Ben, just buries it right in the hash. And you're like, oh, yeah, good for the kid, man. 17 goals in his rookie season. If he gets to 20, give that guy a cigar, because he belongs in this league. He looks great. He did have some mishaps in the defensive zone, but he's still learning. I don't mind that. I love his ability to score in clutch moments. That was one of them. And then Stuart Skinner had a save of the game that I thought it was going to be the save of the game with about 4 minutes left. Just absolutely robbed. I think it was Aho. Whoever it was, they're still winding their watch because they can't believe that actually did not go in. But wouldn't you know it, just a little bit of puck luck. Keandre Miller just shoots it in a sea of feet, and it somehow bounces in off somebody. I still don't know who it went off of. I don't think anybody does. But you know what? When you get that puck luck, they don't care. It doesn't matter how pretty the goal is. It just matters that it goes in. And that one went in. I hate to see that happen like that. But, the Pens still had a chance to score there at the end. But pretty much at that point, they were about 2.5, 3 minutes left. Both teams were playing for the point. They both need the point. Carolina needs to get some distance from they don't really need to get different distance from Buffalo, but from the Penguins. I mean, Penguins now have 84 points on the season, and they have 92 with the win. So they actually increased their lead by a point. So they have an 8-point lead on the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're looking pretty good. It's going to be hard for them not to win the Metro at this point. But Carolina's been having some problems. Columbus took it to them yesterday. And tonight, they really had to work hard to get that point. And, of course, in overtime, I can't believe that Sid got waived. I can't remember the last time in an overtime period where somebody got waived from the circle. And then Sid almost jumps it on the other end. If you do that twice in a row, you can get a penalty for it. So I think they were giving Sid a little bit of space there. They could have called a penalty on that. But Sid looked frustrated. Some of the penalties and some of the stuff he was calling. they were calling against him. He didn't look like he liked it too much. That's Sid's competitive edge. If you have watched Sidney Crosby like I have, and by the way, I'm your hockey Jesus. I'm here giving you Pittsburgh Penguins analysis after every single Pittsburgh Penguins game. I've been off for a week because I've been on vacation, but as you can tell by the way I'm talking so quickly, I have missed this so much. And to have a game like this 6-5 on my debut back after a little siesta, little break down in the Turks Caicos. Beautiful place. If you get a chance to go there. But I digress. 6-5. They go to overtime. And honestly, it looked like Carolina was like, all we got to do is skate around because once we get to the shootout, we know we're going to beat these bums. And not very much happened. And Kindle had probably the best chance for the Pittsburgh Penguins right before Walker scored. And, that's usually how it happens. The other team comes back. Looked like they were a little discombobulated. Rax didn't look like he had his guy. That's what happens. You're on the ice for a little too long. So 28 seconds left. One-timer pass to Walker. He did not miss. Should Skinner have saved that? Probably. An excellent goalie would have saved it, but I don't fault him for letting that go in. It was a one-timer from the other side. At the end of a really long game, 44 shots, 43 at that point. But so the Pittsburgh Penguins lose tonight. And hey, MK, good to see you tonight. Yeah, the SNP app is garbage. I had to come upstairs. I can't play the SNP app down on my downstairs television, and it's the newer of the two. Really go figure. Shout out to the X for being reliable. You know it. Unfortunately, Bork was on the Borky's great on the radio, but he was on the TV tonight, so you didn't even get to hear Borky tonight on the X. But yeah, just it's fun to listen to the game sometimes. But I'm with you, MK. SNP, please fix your app so that people all over the world. I couldn't run it in Turks Caicos; it just wouldn't work outside the country. So yeah, I feel your pain, MK. But if you listen to it, you got the gist of what was going on. You can go back and see the highlights. And it was just a barn burner of a game. Good to see you here, MK, after the game, as always. And that's it, really, for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Pittsburgh Penguins now have 16 points. 16 points from overtime. That's the most in the league. They surpassed the LA Kings. I think the Kings were beating them at one time. And I think the Kings were stayed at 12. And the Pittsburgh Penguins just keep playing those overtime games. I'm not going to mark them here, but I know there have been at least 5 in the last 8 for sure. And, if you're getting loser points, I guess that's good. But you know what? That's 16 points where if you get half of those, you're right at the top with Carolina right now. Now, I should not be doing this because the Pittsburgh Penguins should not be in the position they're in right now, but they are. So I'm going to get excited about it. I'm going to try and will them to a second or third place finish so we can play the Islanders in the first round. Boy, I really don't want to play the Islanders in the first round, but that's a story for another night. And that will be all for me tonight. The Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, 6-5 losers at Carolina. They're finished their homestand with, honestly, 2, 4, 5 of the last 6 points on the homestand. We'll take that. That's excellent. You get 5 out of 6 points in 3 games, you're going to make the playoffs. Right now, the Pittsburgh Penguins are solidly in a playoff position. But man, if you look at the standings, they're there. New York Islanders, 83 points right behind them. Who's right behind them at 81 points? That's right, Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, you got the Boston Bruins and the Detroit Red Wings right now at 82 points. So 82 points is where the wild card is. That's only 2 points away from where the Pittsburgh Penguins are. So they got to keep the pace, I think they're going to be okay. This weekend, it should be interesting. They play against Winnipeg on Saturday. It's an afternoon game. And then Carolina comes back into Pittsburgh for a Sunday matinee. Boy, you got to figure you got to beat Winnipeg. Winnipeg's not a very good team this year. Let's just look at the conferences. In the Western Conference, Winnipeg is, they're 12th. They're 28-39. Yeah, they're not very good. So that's definitely a game you're looking at. Like, you don't want to get goalied. Don't get goalied. I don't know if Hellebuck's back or not, but you don't want to get goalied by Winnipeg. And then let's get some revenge against Carolina over the weekend, huh? So, hey, I will be back Saturday. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, if you enjoy it, I'm your Hockey Jesus. We're here on the Sports Porch. We do a show every Monday night. I'm here after every single Pittsburgh Penguins game from here until the end of the season, through the playoffs. God willing, they make the playoffs and go far, or at least make the playoffs. Let's start with that. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. And that's it. I'll be back on Saturday. Until then, go watch some hockey, root against the Islanders and the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'll see you in the next.